Hey review family, keep it keep it tight. My name is Jay Moore's Third V Guy, reviewing music for the love of music, and I'm back again to bring you another video. And in this one I'm going to be covering the new Green Day record entitled Father of All Motherfuckers. If it looks like I got popped by a switchblade, it's because I swiped myself while shaving like the damn beta male I am. So Green Day, long-running punk rock band. This is their 13th studio-length album, their oddball left-field release that was very anticipated by both fans and skeptics alike, which can be equated to numerous reasons, whether it be the odd singles, whether it be the short track listing, and just the short time frame in general, and the fact that this isn't a series, or at least a series that we know of right now. Despite some lineup changes in their early years, they've kept up their trio for a surprisingly impressive amount of time. They've dabbled in alt-rock, and they were one of the first bands to really bring pop-punk to the main stage of prominence, especially with their string of records that began around the midway section of the 1990s and led into the late 2000s. During this time, Green Day were fiery, zany, energetic. They had so much to say, so much power and finesse in them. With so much frenetic energy, they cranked out some of the most reliably fast-paced, rough, but entertaining and instantly catchy tracks that you would hear from the movement. And albums like Dookie and Insomniac and Nimrod and American Idiot and 21st Century Breakdown are easily going to go down as some of the most genre-defining pop-punk records that you'll find. But the 2010s are a different story to some degree. They came out with the absolutely sloppy Uno Dos Tres trilogy, which I stand by being the weakest Green Day releases that have ever been, which I notice some might be a little bit of an unpopular opinion. I just find them to be so misorganized. And then later in the decade, a little bit after Revolution Radio came out, and it was alright. It garnered a little bit of good reception, but coming off of the iffy reception from many critics off of their Uno Dos Tres trilogy, it's not necessarily a compliment to just be told, well, this could have been worse. As a longtime fan of Green Day, a longtime admirer of their entire discography, I can easily say that this is not that solid of a record. It doesn't reach the trash can timbre that the Uno Dos Tres trilogy does, but it's really reaching for it. For 4 singles to be released in anticipation for an album that is only 10 tracks, I was very much beginning to lose a lot of my faith, and my optimism, my healthy optimism, was turning to full-blown pessimism, if not skepticism, and I was willing to give this album the benefit of the doubt even through that, because singles don't always define what an album is going to sound like in its finalized state, but it really did. And the wonky vocal mixing and the jilted howling woo vocals on the self-titled track, to the short burst of a track that is fire, ready, aim. Another single that basically takes everything that the self-titled track did wrong and ties it up in a bow of a D-list garage punk revivalist movement band. And one thing that both tracks here do, and that just comes up so much on this record that I can't for the life of me imagine why this was thought to be serviceable to begin with, are these off-kilter claps that come off downright obstructive. And not only do these carry over to the second track, so do the whoa-ohs! And with these background guitar embellishments that sound like a knockoff surf rock band, it's really impossible to get behind either of these tracks. And that's not even getting into the lyricism. And the next track, Oh Yeah, I don't want to get overly repetitive with my explanations that I just feel like this album is a bunch of the same ideas strung together into just one big beast that can't really find its own identity. It sounds like a pop-punk rager minus the rage. Either that or a melancholic, uppity pop-punk track that can't find its footing, and I don't even know if it fits any of the qualifications for that. And the fact I can't figure out which way the pendulum's trying to swing on this track, it just makes it even more hard to understand. This track features dry bass tones and this twinkling surf rock instrumentation, Billie Joe Armstrong sounding like he is straining at numerous points, and insanely inconsistent vocal mixing. 3 tracks in, and it's already mind-numbing to listen to. And you don't have that much leeway. You have a short track listing, you have no excuse for having this much of an issue to make it compact. And call me a hater as much as you like, I know that this review might not get me that many friends, but I enjoy Green Day, and I'm not comparing them to any other band, I'm not even comparing them to any other album, I'm comparing them to Green Day. This is the same lineup, this is the same people that have been making music for a long time. And as much as I respect being avant-garde and experimental, I just simply don't think that it pans out in any way that is fruitful here. This album just feels like a perfect storm of a clusterfuck to me. Hilariously out of place and repetitive lyricism, mundane choruses, a horrendously badly mixed record, and you're getting an album that is unashamedly tacky to listen to on numerous occasions, way too many than I can count. The amount of times that I was listening to this and I would hear a certain riff line, a certain drum line, a certain vocal strain, a certain type of way the vocals would be mixed, or just the way everything was equalized in the first place, and I would literally just like sink my fingers into my temple and my eyes would just widen like, this is happening. This is an album. This is something that is happening. Someone said, yep, that's a good album, you want to put that out, you're gonna top them charts. Which that comment might come to bite me if they top the Billboard charts. I think that would be absolutely hilarious if this album topped the Billboard charts. And hey, more power to them. It's like their heart is in the right place, it's like they have good intentions, but it's just a mess of a record that I can't seem to fit anywhere in their discography, which might have been what they were going for considering how weird it is. But it feels like you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole way too many times. And another thing on this record is how they recycle ideas that they've done before, but just without some of the amazing chemistry and energy that they've had prior. I Was a Teenager is a fantastic example of this. It feels like it could have been birthed straight from the era of American Idiot and 21st Century Breakdown, that section of their timeline. But it just lacks that edge. It doesn't have the tongue-in-cheek acknowledgement that they're not taking themselves that seriously, and that in turn makes them sound more serious in their past. And it's odd because it makes these songs sound like they're desaturated, like they are just clearly missing something. Like it's a well-oiled machine creating songs, like an AI was programmed to try to make Green Day songs, and it's so odd I just can't put my finger on it. It just all seems so underwritten. Like very few of these tracks are fleshed out in a way that feels cohesive from not only a progressive standpoint, but literally at the track at hand. And probably my least favorite thing on this entire record is something I haven't even touched on yet, and that has to be the production. These tracks are so chaotically mixed, and not in a youthful way. There is no exuberance here. Everything is just sucked dry to the point of not having any fun, any flavor, anything that's unique for the band. So little in the way of resonance that maybe could have been there if it was mixed better. So little redeeming qualities. Like, for example, the percussion seems like it's trying its very hardest to be as unoffensive as possible. Out of sight, out of mind, just mindlessly thumping away on each track. And let me just inform you of something. Finding any bass work or any bass lines, singular or plural, I would go for either one. That is not just a plucked sounding, rolling, threnody sounding pick-me-up that is just topically trying to guide you from one desolate section of a track to another. It's a challenge. The best analogy I can use is this album is the equivalent of being lost in a vast desert. You are on a camel. You're trying to find an oasis. The only issue is you're blind. Your camel's missing one leg. You're dying of thirst. And so is your camel. And camels can hold a lot of water, folks. A lot of water. I don't even think that disappointed is the right term. I'm going to be giving this a lower score than just being undetermined or being tentative or just not caring or being indifferent altogether. It's not like that. It's not that I hate this album. I am just flabbergasted. I'm just confused. I'm shocked more than anything about how messy this record sounds, not only from a production standpoint, but a lyrical standpoint, and to some degree a repetition standpoint. And for a record that is this short, you really don't want a record that is going to sound this repetitive for a 26-minute runtime. I just hope that this isn't a telling sign of the direction that Green Day's going in the 2020s, because I kind of fear for them in the future. This is just coming from a Green Day fan. Maybe there are some of you guys that really like this record. If so, that's awesome. I'm going to be giving this album a 3 out of 10. And that is a wrap. Have you heard this new Green Day record, Father of All Motherfuckers? If you have, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about the record. Maybe you loved it. Maybe you liked it a lot more than me. That's great. I'd love to hear it. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified on future uploads. You know who it is.
Go ahead, live your best life.